Today's training is all about the expert authority builder. This is all about being able to gain massive credibility so that you can get higher paying clients that will want to work with you for a longer period of time. And to do that by going above all the other noise that's out there in the coaching world. And it's like the difference between a general practitioner and a brain surgeon. You know, if I'm going to have someone that's going to be working on my brain, I want that to be the top person in that field. I want that to be someone who is actually specializing in that particular part of the body and those particular illnesses and challenges that I want them to fix. I don't want a GP cutting into my brain. And therefore, the surgeon is going to have, a waiting list for people to work with them. They're going to charge more. They're going to have more of an authority in that area. All right, by the way, there's a workbook, as there always is, for today's training. If you are watching this with me live and you haven't got the workbook, then just comment workbook below and we'll get it to you. If you're watching this and it's already up on my website, then there is a button down below that will let you download the workbook as well. And then you can get even deeper value from what we're doing today. All right, so let's kick it off by having a look once again at what it is that we're talking about here and breaking it apart and putting it into the right context. So what we're talking here about is your expert authority. By the way, if you have a challenge with the word expert, then there's some work that you could possibly do in that area, and you may not have gone through my roadblock eliminator as yet. So if that's the case, let me know and I'll get it to you. But you are an expert and you have things from your experience that can help people. So let's just agree on that before we move forward. All right, so it's about your expert authority. Now, there are three areas that we want to look at when we're building this authority so that we can be seen as the go-to person for what it is that you're doing. The first thing we want to make sure that we get right is our message. Now, that's the way that we put ourselves out there to the world. That's what they know about us. That's what we stand for. The second area is the area of mastery. What is it that people know about us that they know that we're the number one or we're one of the top people in that field? We're the one that we would go to because we've got those extra skills and competencies that others that do a similar thing to us don't have. And then the third area is all about creating a movement. The greatest way to get expert authority is to build that around a cause, to create a movement. All right, so let's have a look at the challenges and what to do instead when we are building these three areas. By the way, if you haven't got the workbook, just comment workbook below and I'll get it to you. Or if you're on the website, there's a button down below. You can download it as well. So the first thing we want to talk about is our message. So when we're looking at the message, what I see, what I did and what I see a lot of coaches and trainers, consultants do is their message is very vague. So for example, the message is all around coaching or it's all around helping, and it's very vague and it's very wide. But what we want to do to build authority is shift that and have a message that is a lot more focused. It's like, as I said, the message of the brain surgeon. It's all focused around the anatomy of the brain and the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, etc. So it's focused in on that one area. Now, for me, we've heard that word, niche many times. And a lot of times people will be totally worried about the niche being around a market. But for me, if there's something that I learnt years ago that really helped me around this with one of my mentors, Matt Church, is that message trumps market, and it definitely trumps your method or your mode of delivery. So we've got to get more focused. All right, so let's now have a look at mastery. So in the area of mastery, and we're not going to get into, whether it's 10,000 hours and all those sort of things here. Mastery is actually at the more elite level. It's the higher level. When I first started off in coaching, I didn't have an area of mastery. I now do. And I can add, confidently, I can say this, I can add a lot more value in that area than people who are just dabbling in it. So the challenge here is remaining common. So, we've got mastery as a coach in terms of running a coaching session and those skills that come in coaching. However, what we want to do to build authority is we want to become a lot more unique, so that when people think about a specific problem, they think about you, right? When people think about hiring a coach or a trainer, consultant, whatever it is that you're doing, they align you with that. Because not only is it a lot more focused, it's also the way that you're doing that as well. So if we look at the brain surgeon, there are different ways that you can actually approach different things that they do. So being known for your mastery in a unique way is going to give you more authority. All right, so the third area now, talking about movement, is what we do a lot of times is we create a movement of spectators, people that are happy to watch from the outside, that they sort of like what it is you're talking about, but they never do anything. But that's not what we're here to do. We're actually here to grow a coaching practice. So we want to shift them so that they become members. So it goes beyond a movement of people that just like hanging around you and, give you likes and comments. Actually, people who get involved and take what you are teaching to the next level, and they get in your program and they allow you to take them on that transformational journey. All right, so what I want to do now is just unpack some key principles that we need to understand around this, and then I'll take you through the workbook. If you haven't got the workbook yet, you know what to do. Put workbook below or hit the button or link, depending where you're watching this, and you can grab a copy. All right, so in terms of expert positioning, in terms of you becoming that authority in your area, these are 5 things that I want you to consider. The first thing that you've got to be able to do is stand out. I don't know if you've noticed, I certainly have, there are a lot of people out there that do what we do. They do various, obviously different methodologies and things that they do, but there's a lot of coaches and trainers out there. So instead of being hidden in all that noise, we've got to find a way to stand out. And I'm going to show you, ways that you can do that. And that particularly, as I said, is great to be done around a message, all right, and about a movement. So we've got to stand out. The second thing, and this is so important right now, at the time of me running this live, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We've been in it for a couple of years. And there are specific problems right now that we need to help people to solve. All right. So when you have that area of mastery, what we want to be able to do then is go even deeper and go, okay, so what are the actual problems that need to be solved right now? So me, for example, as being a social and emotional intelligence master coach trainer, there are not enough coaches out there who are skilled and master the discipline of emotional intelligence coaching And there's a lot of need for that right now. There's a lot of people out there that are not navigating this landscape very well emotionally. And there's a lot of anxious people. There's a lot of people who are fearful. There are a lot of people who are finding it difficult in isolation, etc. So the work that I'm doing right now is solving now problems. So it's not just a good to have, it's a must have. Then the next thing that we want to look at in terms of this, as I've already started to talk about, is we want to serve a cause. Right? So in the world right now, there are particular things going on. So if your expert authority is aligned with a cause, people take notice. So right now, I am on a quest to increase the number and quality of social and emotional intelligence coaches around the world, so that this whole disconnected world that we're living in right now, that has all these fears and anxieties, and it's a different landscape right now, I'm on the bandwagon of doing that. I'm there in a leadership role serving that particular cause. The next thing we want to do is become a subject matter authority. You know, if I look at the area that I work in, there's a lot of coaches that have done, a little bit of a module, or the words were somewhere in there, of emotional intelligence. Yet, what I've done is invested the last 12 years in finding out what I didn't know and going deeper and becoming an authority, where now, as for the last 3 years, I've been the Emotional Intelligence Speaker and Trainer of the Year. And that's because I have spoken on that topic. I have researched that topic. I've changed views and shifted the neuroscience as we learn different things. So I've become an authority in that area. So what is it for you? What area are you a subject authority on? So if people were to Google you or talk to others about you, who would recommend you and go, hey, you need to talk to this person? So this is really important. Now, by the way, this takes a period of time, but it starts the moment you make a decision to start building that authority. And we also, which goes along with that, need to speak it out consistently. We need to be able to get in front of people, whether it's doing a Facebook Live, whether you're speaking on a stage, whether you're speaking in groups, whatever it is that you're doing, we need to propagate that message. We need to speak it out so that people can actually hear you, so that it's not just something that you know and nobody else knows that you know. So there are some key principles that we need to understand before we're able to actually build that authority. All right, so what I want to do now is take you through the workbook, give you a look at how to use this so that you can get more value out of it, and therefore you can start building that authority. By the way, if you haven't got the workbook yet, comment workbook below, or find the button down the page if you're on the website, or the link on YouTube, and you can get a copy there. All right. So the first thing I've given you here is what I call the global stage opportunity. And this is where I work with coaches to help them to go, okay, if you had 15 minutes right now, if you had a world audience, every single person on the planet, over 7 billion of them, everyone had a device, and you would be speaking to them, and you get 15 minutes and you get it once in your life. What's the message that you'd like to leave them with? And I know when I first do this in our Growth Accelerator and coaches are going through this process, they start off talking about what they do as a coach, and and then as we brainstorm and we go deeper on this, then they realize that that's not really their message. We're talking about your higher purpose message here. What is it that you would like to leave them? And this is a fantastic exercise that you can do to really work out what it is that you stand for. So we break it down to what's the cause, what's the cost of that challenge within that cause, and what's the call for you there to work in that. So you can get really, really clear using this global stage opportunity to work out, what do I want to stand for? What do I want the world to see me as? And what do I want to base that message on? So that's the first thing. The second thing is being able to actually get a message together. And this is some of the most fun I get to have in the Growth Accelerator, is to helping the coaches that I'm working with and trainers that I'm working with to get clear using the magnetic message formula. All right. So really it's got, 4 elements. Who is it that you help? What's the result that you give them? What are they frustrated about in terms of trying to get that result? And what are they aspiring to? Where do they want to go? All right. And we end up with an I help statement there. So that's the second thing, is to get clear on that. And this is why obviously we need to understand what our overall mastery area, our message is, so that we can draw that from here and go, okay, so this is my higher purpose message, but how can I actually extract something from that I can commercialize? Because I say unapologetically that we're here to help coaches to have a greater influence in the world, to make more income so they can keep the message going, and to make a huge impact in the world as well. So to do that, you've got to be able to have a message that people understand and that they're drawn to. All right. So, and the third area in the workbook is the credibility booster planner. So this is all about where the rubber meets the road right now. Okay. In terms of where you are. So if we look at, there's 3 elements there. I'll just move it down so you can see it. There's the training, there's your experience, and then there's the application of that, right? So what is it right now that you've been trained in? So if we look at in terms of your coaching, your training, what it is that you're doing, what have you been trained in? You could be a brand new coach and you've been trained to coach, and you've done initial coach training, for example. You may have other training in more workplace-oriented training, whatever it is. So it's being able to list that down. The next area is to have a look at your experience. So training itself is of no value, in my opinion. It's only in the implementation of that training that you actually are able to get any value from it and bring value to others. So what is the experience that you have in using that training? And what is your life experience that you have that you've used that training to overcome, etc. And then looking at, how do I apply that? How do I use that in my practice? How do I use that to bring the results that I say in my message that I want to bring? So that's all about now. But then really what we want to get to here, because I believe, and I'm very much a proponent of being a lifelong learner, because I believe you're either green and growing or you're ripe and rotting. So I continually, even though I've got credentials, I've got a lot of experience. This morning, I was on a program with the neuroscientist from our academy who is helping me to learn even more about applied neuroscience, about how it, affects the understanding of emotions and emotional intelligence, etc. So, just like me, what is the next training for you? So it could be, if you have an interest in social and emotional intelligence, it could be doing the social and emotional intelligence coach certification. It could be some other extension program to lift the level of expertise. All right. Then the experience side of things, what are you looking to be involved in and to experience and step out in so that you can build that level of understanding, of mastery, etc. And how is that then? What's the overall goal for that? What's the aspiration? How are you going to apply that in your practice? All right, so the last element that I want to talk to you about here is around your movement. All right, so this is the movement leader game plan. Yes, you are the leader of your movement. If that is something that's a bit scary to you right now, then you can grow into that. But I had to realize, going back just a few years ago when I was traveling the world, I was, speaking on stages everywhere. I was being seen as someone who was in a leadership role in the particular area of social and emotional intelligence. I had to step into that. I had to go, you know what, Grant, that's okay. Yes. And by the way, imposter syndrome, I believe, is a good thing, because if you are challenged by feeling like a bit of an imposter, it helps you to go back and go, well, what do I still need to learn? What do I still need to do? But anyway, you are the leader of your movement. So what we want to talk about here is, what's the purpose of your movement? These are the people that are going to follow you, and not just follow you and give you likes, but these are the people that are going to work with you. They're going to get into your programs. They're going to allow you to take them on a journey of transformation. Who are the players in your movement? Is it all just you, or are there other key players in your movement? And then getting to, well, what's the process? How do you run that movement? How do you get people involved? Is it a Facebook group? Is it something different? How do people get involved? How do people go and follow that movement, etc.? So having a clear plan, rather than just doing what I used to do, and that is just jump in Facebook, grow a Facebook or create a Facebook group, and then ask people to come. So for me, I have a movement, and I do actually run this in a Facebook group, this one called the Emotional Intelligence Coach Community. So it's a movement of coaches and trainers, practitioners that are either involved in or would like to learn and become involved in the area of mastery around social and emotional intelligence. And it separates everything from the noise of all the other things that are going on out there. So that is the movement. The players are me and you. And there are various people that I'm going to be bringing in as well who can add value, because they have a different perspective and can help on that. All right. So as it says there, what are your stretch goals for that community for the next 12 months? It's all about having a plan and purposefully building a movement. You then get a movement of members, not a movement of spectators, people that are happy to sit in the grandstands. They get in and they actually become a player. All right, so I'd love to know what your insights are out of today. If you're watching this in the group, let me know down below. If you're watching it anywhere else, you can just hit reply to any of the emails. What is the insight for you? What do you already know you need to shift? What are the changes that you need to make right now based on what you've learnt from this training? And then more importantly, how are you going to apply that? Beyond just doing this worksheet, this workbook, what are you going to do? And I want you to think about the impact that that's going to have on you and your coaching practice. All right, so today was all about building expert authority. Obviously, in the short period of time we've got together, I've given you an overview. I'd really love you to go deeper, to do the exercises. And if you want to know more about how you can work more closely with me in the Growth Accelerator to help you with these things, then please just hit reply on an email or comment below, and we will come back to you. So that's the training for this week. And I look forward to continuing to work with you as we work together to build our authority.